Tuesday with licensed professional counselor Yunetta Spring.
Oh man, Rick's about the morning show. Hey, the time right now is the top of the hour. I get so excited because we are trying to condition people that it's okay to go to therapy, and I am so pro therapy. So a lot of stuff going on, and no matter what you're going through, no matter what you've been through, I know they tell you in church, just turn it over to the hands of the Lord and He'll work it out. But God also created therapists, somebody to talk us through some of our situations. And today we got the one and only, as we do every Tuesday, Yunetta Spring. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Rickey. Good morning, y'all. How y'all doing this morning?
We good. Licensed professional counselor. Now,
yes.
And today you're going to be talking to us about grief.
Yeah. I'm going to be talking to y'all about grief, like in particular, sneaky grief, what we sometimes call it sneaky grief, because I think it's so important with the increased spikes in death because of COVID-19. Now we're talking about another senseless murder. We got to consider the amount of people right now who are grieving, right? Some people are grieving for the first time. Some people are grieving like multiple family members and friends without the ability, because of everything going on, to like properly send their loved ones off, So we're experiencing like a collective grief right now. So I wanted to talk and touch on sneaky grief, because sneaky grief is like that wave of emotion that comes and knocks us down when we least expect it. Okay.
Oh yeah. So
we can prepare to grieve around certain holidays and anniversaries and birthdays, right? We kind of anticipate and expect that just won't be a good day for us. But sometimes we can miss those typical and ordinary days when we may experience a wave of grief. And grief doesn't have a respecter of persons. It's coming when it feels like it wants to come. And sometimes sneaky grief comes when it can be activated by our stillness, or by, when we actually sit down, when we slow down, or when it's quiet and silent. Sometimes that's when the grief comes in and overwhelms us. Or sometimes it can be activated by our senses. So what we see, what we touch, what we taste, a certain smell, all of those things can like send us into a wave of grief. So I thought it would be important for us to identify that part of grief, because sometimes we're not expecting it and it can really overwhelm us. So I wanted to share 4 ways to notice and navigate through sneaky grief, right? So the first thing we need to do is notice it, right? Sometimes we may feel angry and we don't even recognize that we're angry because we're grieving, right? So being able to notice that, okay, I feel angry, I feel sad, I just want to isolate, I don't want to be bothered. Really being able to notice that shift has come up, and then being able to name it. So number 2 is name it. Identify what it is that you miss about your loved one, what it is that you miss about that experience. So notice it. Name it. And then the third one is to normalize it, right? Know that it's okay to grieve, even if it comes up when we don't expect it, or when it doesn't seem like it's okay. If you lose somebody that you love, you're going to experience them forever. You're going to think about them, whenever. And that's just a normal part of the grieving process. And the last one is to don't negotiate it, right? Sometimes we try to negotiate our way out of grief, or we try to suppress it, or we try to ignore it. That isn't healthy, right? And that will cause that grief to come up, even stronger and even more often. So I wanted to kind of share that, because I think I know a lot of people are grieving right now, and we may not necessarily recognize it as grief.
Right. Yeah, because Counselor Spring, it'll sneak up on you. I remember when my daughter got shot, it didn't hit me until that Thursday. She was shot on a Sunday. And I was just sitting here doing the morning show. I'll never forget it. We played 50 Cent in the club, and I had it was as if I had just found out. One time I came off stage, I was at the Erie Crown in Chicago. I'll never forget it. I walked off stage, and I just fell to my knees, because my grandmother had passed. And I mean, Brett, 6,000 people at the Airy Crown. Walked off, said, did a good show, said thank you, good night. Chicago was in the building, stood up, and I walked right off stage, and I couldn't even make it to the dressing room. I don't know, like, what happened? What happened?
Yeah, that's a sneaky grief. It just comes over us out of the blue. Yes. And it's normal. And that's the thing, I want to stress that to normalize it. Like, that's how our body responds to grief. Sometimes it takes days. Sometimes it takes years, But when it comes up, I really want the listeners to be able to understand what's happening and then know that they can seek help and they can seek therapy to help them process through it.
Yeah, well, we happy to have you on as one. If anybody want to reach you, let everybody know how you can be reached.
Yes, you can follow me on social media platforms at Springforth Counseling. And if you want to subscribe to my mailing list, you can text the word SPRING to 55444. So Springforth Counseling, or text SPRING to 55444.
Counselor Spring, I don't know if it was my grandmama's funeral or that praise dancer. It was a lady, she was like 50. She had on the leotard and she did a praise dance at my grandmama's funeral. I don't know which one it was, but my counselor think it was the praise dancer.
You think it was the praise?
The praise dancer that affected me.
I think everybody has experienced something funny.
To somebody my grandmother knew. My grandma used to call this lady Bookie. Thank you so much.
No, we're not going to do that.
What you call Bookie?
Not today. You leave Bookie alone.
Okay.
He's a phenomenal praise dancer.
Don't mess with Bookie.
I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Y'all, thank you, Counselor Yunetta Spring. We really appreciate you. We love you. And thank you so much. As a matter of fact, I met a therapist in Louisville, Kentucky last night, a wonderful therapist at the protest, and she says she waits every Tuesday to listen to Talk It Out Tuesday. So she's probably listening now. I met her on the side of the stage for the Breonna Taylor event on last night. Yes. So you touching a lot of people, even therapists is listening to this session. So wherever you are, get into therapy. I don't care what you've been through. Get into therapy. Counselor Yunetta Spring. Gary, what you got coming up next?
Coming up next, y'all, extortion is the word, y'all. It's a very sad time, y'all. Extortion. We're going to talk about who extorted next.
There you go, Brad. There you song, Brad.